All right, let's do this. This is the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2, and I haven't been this excited for a phone since, iPhone 5, and rather than rush out a 24-hour review or a 2-week review, I wanted to put my SIM in and just use it daily, and I've done so for the last month. And now I'm ready to share my thoughts on this unique phone, or tablet, or phablet. Anyways, this is my first foldable phone, and I've had reservations as to, just how practical this phone might be. I understand this phone is kind of niche and not everybody rushed out to order one, considering its footprint and ridiculous price point. On any other normal smartphone, my main apps in rotation are usually LA Times, YouTube, Gmail, Facebook, Messenger, or even Instagram. But I didn't burn my wallet for just a normal experience. It was because of this. A device from a company that's always been one of the first to push the envelope and never afraid to jam pack as many features as possible into a smartphone. It's a phone when you need it and a tablet when you want some extra screen real estate. So this begs the question, is this merely a swing for the fence trend that'll dissipate over the next few years, or is it going to be the future of smartphone tech? Personally, I think so. When it comes to performance, this phone flies. I consider myself a power user, so I'm constantly switching apps, streaming, messaging, and a little bit of gaming in between. It's got 12 gigs of RAM, so you're not going to have any lag anywhere, trust me. It also offers fast wired charging at 25 watts and wireless charging at 11 watts. And during my testing, it takes almost 2 hours to charge from 0 to 100%. And it's not mind-blowingly 1+ fast, but it gets the job done. And battery life for me, using it at 8% brightness with a fold usually open, lasts just about the entire day, but you're gonna have to have that charger in handy at night. It also offers reverse wireless charging, so if you're on the go and you need to juice up those earbuds, you're good to go. Sometimes I forget with all the bells and whistles on this phone, but yes, it does make and receive calls. Call quality is crystal clear, and I've recorded some video captures with the mic on and it works perfectly, so nothing to complain about there. The sleep wake button doubles as a fingerprint scanner. It's fast and it's very accurate. When I'm home though, I use the face unlock, which also works well, just so I don't have to, contort my fingers every single time just to unlock the phone. One thing I noticed is when I'm holding the phone out with my left hand, I often inadvertently push the sleep button. That was a little annoying, but I just had to adjust. Now there's a couple key features missing that users have become accustomed to in previous Galaxy devices. First is the omission of expandable storage. It's kind of a bummer since the S20 line and even the S10 line included it. Secondly, the headphone jack is also missing, unlike last year's S10. This could possibly be the result of just no room to physically engineer it into the phone like this, so that's okay. Another one is no waterproof. Now it's no surprise with a phone like this. Just a side note though, not being waterproof, it's never really been a deal breaker for me. I don't go swimming with my phone, I never have, nor do I sweat on it when I'm working out, so that doesn't bother me at all. Moving on. Now you may have seen last year's Fold with that screen that's awfully small and just kind of odd looking on the tall display. This year is much different. Samsung listened to its criticism and gave us an almost bezel-less screen this year. Along with the edges, it's got a brushed aluminum texture and a glass front and back. When it's closed, this gives me a heavy Radio Shack universal TV remote kind of vibe. It's definitely noticeable and it's definitely heavy. I mean, it looks like two smartphones just stacked on top of each other. And one thing I wish it had though on the front was a higher refresh rate. It's limited to 60 Hz. Now most people won't care, but if you're a phone nerd like me and you've scrolled content on 90 or 120 Hz, you few people out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But despite being such a narrow 6.2 inch display, what's great is that it's still usable in most instances, especially one-handed. I'm usually scrolling through social media, liking pictures, and checking emails and messages. But replying to those messages is a little bit of a different story. It was a little rough the first few days and took some getting used to with that compressed keyboard. My solution for that though was using the swipe type feature, and that helped decrease the number of typos considerably. As far as reading, larger blocks of text either truncated a little bit sooner or got bumped down another line. No big deal. Probably the biggest thing I was worried about, since I've never used a phone like this before, was the sturdiness of the hinge. I was afraid it would be too easy to bend it the wrong way. Suffice to say, I was wrong. It has a redefined stiffness to it that feels substantial when opening and closing that fold. I use it just over a month now, so it doesn't have enough mileage on it yet, but through my daily use, I haven't experienced any physical degradation while using the hinge. One weird design flaw that kinda bothers me on the outside is when it's closed. there's this weird sliver of a gap along the hinge side of the phone. It's not a big deal, but it's there, and maybe the Fold 3 will find a way to make it more flush. Now, once you flip this thing open, that's where the magic happens. It's a big, beautiful AMOLED 7.6-inch 120Hz display, which makes it a joy to scroll on. I think my first impression when I opened this was, wow, this is crazy. Samsung says it uses a bendable glass and typing on it feels like a normal smartphone screen surface. And using app pairing is such a smooth and beautiful experience. Now, I know there's images online that suggest the fold down the middle is noticeable. The thing about that is, if you're making a conscious effort to look at it, then yes, you'll see it. But after a few days of actually reading on it, watching YouTube, gaming, taking pictures, that small crevice kind of just melts away and you don't notice it after a while. Overall, it didn't hinder my experience whatsoever. With the exception of a few apps that don't support that ultra big screen like Instagram and some minor janky viewing on Facebook Marketplace, all the other apps I've used expand automatically and transition smoothly from the front display to the expanded display. The camera is something Samsung has improved on over the last few years, and I'd say it's neck and neck with the iPhone and the Pixel. It's got three 12s. It's got a 12 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 12 megapixel telephoto. All lenses perform pretty well. The main wide takes really impressive shots in the daytime and surprised me at how good it was at night. It's not as clean overall as the Pixel 4 and iPhone 11 Pro, but I'd say it does a really solid job. The ultra wide is also really good when there's enough light. When it's dark though, the detail does become soft, and when that happens, just set that ultra wide to night mode and you're gonna get great results. As far as 2x zoom, meh, it does the job, but at a premium price point like this, I would have liked at least a 3x or 5x optical zoom. I've owned both the Huawei P and Mate series before, and I love their camera systems, so this doesn't really wow me at all. Overall, each lens delivers crisp results good enough for social media. If you've been a Samsung owner, then you may already know this, it's not a huge deal, but it's worth mentioning that this one, along with older Samsung flagships, have always had a slight shutter delay while taking photos, which is why I usually take 3 to 4 shots because I know at least a few of them are going to be blurred. With all that out of the way, what really shines with this camera is Samsung's interface integration in respect to camera functionality. Taking photos normally is great, but with this phone, it gives you a wide variety of ways to shoot. For instance, when you fold the display in ever so slightly, the phone recognizes that and adjusts the camera interface so you can see a preview of your last image or video taken. Another advantage of having it in this orientation is that if you want to take a picture of your family or even yourself and you don't have a tripod, you can simply fold it to around 90 degrees and lay it on a surface to get that right shot. And if that's not cool enough, you can click the cover screen window option. It's that icon in the top left, and that person that you're taking a photo of can actually see a live view of what you're seeing from the front display. That's awesome. When it comes to video, it reminds me a lot of last year's S10 lineup, so I'm not going to really jump in too much into it. The specs are almost the same and you won't really notice a difference. That's not to say that the camera system isn't good. It's probably my second choice right behind the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which remains king. You can shoot up to 4K 60, but it doesn't offer stabilization like the iPhone. OIS is way more noticeable and more stable at 1080. But again, there's a lot of features that it shares with last year's model. Pro mode, panorama, live view focus, super slow-mo in 720, and even hyperlapse. Another app that's well integrated for the Fold 2 is YouTube. Now, I consume YouTube like a lot, more than like Netflix. Watching a video when the Fold is open is a thing of beauty. It really does feel like I'm watching on a tablet. And once you flip it on its side into landscape mode, the video window shrinks along with the video details below it, and the comments section kind of adapts as a 1/3 panel off to the right, so you can keep watching while you're browsing comments and related videos. Aside from that view, you have another position to view videos at, which is folding the screen in just a little bit. The video goes wide and stays fixed while the comments are scrollable beneath it. As you can see, YouTube and the camera app are pretty well optimized for this phone. My question now is, are developers going to take some of these tricks and apply them to their apps? Only time will tell. Aside from those two, I use Google Docs and Gmail quite a bit, and reading and typing on the Fold is nothing short of amazing. Having that extra screen space makes me feel like a winner. I don't know how else to describe it. It's awesome. I even appreciate Spotify's interface on a screen like this. And speaking of Spotify, audio on this device is a dream. Look, Before this, the iPhone 11 Pro Max had the best phone speakers in the market, but this one blows it out of the water by a long shot. It's louder, the bass is punchier, the clarity stays clean even at full volume. You know what you call that? Winning. And that's kind of where I want to close this review. There's definitely a learning curve simply because this is still a new genre for manufacturers. This phone isn't for your vanilla iPhone user. Not that that's bad. But if you're a phone nerd like me and you appreciate new bleeding edge technology, learning the quirks and figuring out what makes the stuff tick, it's all part of the fun. In my opinion, Samsung successfully delivered on this luxurious foldable experiment. Let's call it that. The refined hardware combined with One UI shows that they're still very serious about pushing the envelope, and they don't intend on slowing down anytime soon. So next year, you bet I'll be first in line for the Fold 3. Hey, thanks for watching. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't, and follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.